say about because we're in recession, I'm a doctor. I bring in pretty nice disposable income.
So is this what you thought it was gonna be?
Some days, some days.
Are we having fun yet?
Some days. When I took care of those problems, I'm bringing that.
How many people
Yeah,
are
I don't know, like,
upper income
see this
school
next week.
income because of the, this boxing bee that.
Not a magician, no.
I wanted to stay, but 2 years of faithfulness and want you to curl the heavens. It's setting, it's just trying to shouldn't.
Don't worry.
Yeah, not so good. I broke my right shoulder.
Oh, no.
Need surgery on it.
Oh, boy.
It's the replacement.
Oh,
Sheared off the screw.
is there a warranty on that or something?
That's what I asked. Then I asked, what'd you do, buy the screws in China?
Maybe.
So, getting around is a little bit difficult. Saunders. Yeah, it's my award. How are you, Don? Not so good. I broke my right shoulder replacement.
Oh, that's not right.
So I gotta have surgery on it. New parts, huh? New parts? Well, I already had new parts. They're only 4 years old.
I still am
Sheared
struggling
the screws off.
to because it's so well tied up, but yeah,
Nah, you can't do that. That's not fun.
yeah, you know how it is not to be able to catch yourself.
Say, chief, is this?
Yeah.
Some people are security start.
I didn't lose any pounds and gained
The
steroids.
reflective coat.
And it's the only thing.
You don't sit up here.
City of the city. We got
I
stop
have
signs.
never done, I've always walked so fast and always had to. I slow down every time I go by your house.
I were supposed
Yes,
to.
you have a hard time with your
Police
hacksaw
cars being
outside.
Well, you don't do anything. You wanna see the reflective coat? Look at
Yes.
I'll look at it. Because eventually.
Ultimately, our recreation programs updated.
They haven't enforced the
Frequency on one of our main bands, and hardly handled it. We'll see change there.
He's got a
It's not the streets, it's, that's all right.
Yes, yeah, I know there's a CBD was over there.
I'll check on that.
Main band and all that.
All right, I appreciate it. You're welcome.
Or you don't, whatever you point out anything.
Playoffs are.
He's been a good neighbor.
The broken shoulder. Yeah.
Talk about that tonight.
And it takes
I'm talking about, I have
over a month to get
my
surgery.
right now, she got hit or something. But that's my first, that's my number one topic tonight.
Hopefully Monday, next Monday, I'll find
Well,
out when they're.
I know. So always, that's what I'm going over the first thing.
It's kind of hard to get out of line. I don't know what I'm gonna do, what I'm gonna do when they replace
I'll go ahead and give you a handout.
Yeah.
No, well, y'all know, this is not really for y'all. You're eating milkweed. You're eating bee balm.
Like you said, the limitations of how you can move is amazing.
And they're not really eating, they're chopping off and they destroy them.
pain.
So this is really not for y'all. But if you see a neighbor
He's doing a lot of sleeping in the
doing it,
Unfortunately, pain pills don't work.
So I'm gonna call her, please stop doing it, because we're just starting on our family.
Please, trudge along, see what happens.
And I haven't seen her for a while. And it looked like she was working hard, so I wanted to check this in.
No, she's still there, but I know. So, I'm like. But the thing is, then when they're not
How
there,
much time you got left?
when they're not
About
there,
6
then
months.
their girls go and they eat stuff that they don't normally eat because it's a creature.
Hey, but that's not as good as. Catching all those episodes. You start looking up at two cats,
Yeah. What? I can't turn. I broke my right shoulder. I had surgery on it. Sheared the screws off. But, can't lift my arm.
Yes.
So we're turning certain ways. Outside of that, we're getting by. Boring, not working. Yeah. I can't go down those steps. Yeah, Denise took me there one day. Went over there. She beat me.
Oh, that's right.
So that's gonna be done first.
Yeah.
We got, no, they had to do a little more than that. You don't want to, it's all taken care of.
Okay. Yes.
That's what he was down. She wanted to use it for her garden. Yeah. How you guys do it?
Because nobody can sit there and cut.
Yes.
It wasn't that long. It was 25, 30 years ago.
Gotcha.
Oh, well. Wait. No, Mike's good. Mike's good.
So you enjoyed retirement at all or not
No.
really?
Too much going on.
Kind of makes you wonder how you would have done it otherwise. You're here.
I got stroke 2 years ago. Started downward trend. Yeah. So how are you two doing? industrial fall. They said that the fall between joists, and they said that would stop. But you can't do it until the temperature stays in the 70s for a time.
I like to leave myself
My house
some
is fully air-conditioned, you know, the problem is the stairs.
The overwhelming part
That's
of
what I always
the
figured, that's why I thought the best everything was the stairs in the foundation. No, it's because of the back room, it's like, they prevent you from being able to do any of that. You can always put an addition up in it.
like we should call it, what, each call 911. We got a trust fund.
I'd have to put a bed from out of bed. Which would be fine, because that's what I was going to say, guys. We'll see. He's quiet, he's totally destroyed all my other gardens. He's putting in grass and everything. Like for Jerry.
And we got a few people coming in, so we'll hold up for just a couple minutes.
What? Yeah. He said it was 6 inches. He's out on the water. Yeah, he wanted to go to Texas. It's too damn hot. He decided not to. His son's at the Case or University Hospital. He's close to his family. And his fiance, his son's fiance is there too. There's no more room out there. Well, nobody knows about this. And I didn't have to.
Well, good evening. Looks like I don't see anybody else pulling in the parking lot, so we can get going. We want to respect your time and the time of the people sitting up here. So, and welcome Wards 1 and 6. Ward 1, Sandy Spinks, also our Vice Mayor, and Ward 6, Mr. Tony Longino. And we will hear from them in just a minute. But again, I just wanted to say hello and thank you for coming out. And beautiful night. Hope it stays dry. I'd like to welcome a couple of our council people that are here. Jeff Asbury from Ward 5. This guy Frank Smith, Ward 4. That's it, right? And our former Ward 6 council person, Don Saunders. Thanks for coming out. So what we're going to do, you're not here to hear about from me. I want to hear from your ward people and from the people sitting behind me. And I have Sandy and Tony say a couple words to start. Then Mike will give a short presentation. And then the important thing, we're going to open it up to the audience, because that's who we want to hear from. That's what this is for. We have our department heads here. You can ask them questions, and we'll get to that in just a little bit. So with that, Mrs. Spinks.
Hello, good evening, everybody. Thanks for coming out on this beautiful night. And also, happy Earth Day. 54 years in the making. It started out in 1970. And the reason why that it is always on April 22nd is that was between spring break and Easter and spring break. So that's when they did it. A college student started. It's very interesting. So Google about Earth Day. And with that being said, I kind of wrote down some stuff. Excuse me if I cough. I'm getting over pneumonia, so I'm still getting a little winded. And so I kind of made some notes and everything. So thank y'all for coming and everything. Everything is blooming. The grasses are growing. It's time to start mowing the grasses. Just got mine done today, and it'll probably need it again in 2 days. So first thing that I'm going to touch on is going to be, I do have handouts, is about the deer population. I've been talking to Mike about this for a long time, doing research. We are going to be having someone come from the metro parks talking about why it's so harmful to feed the deer. And again, like I said, I have handouts that are up here. I know there's kind-hearted people out there that they think that they're doing a good deed by feeding the deer. You're not. You're harming them and you're causing them now. So when you're not home and you don't feed them, they're going to go over and they're going to find food somewhere. So now they're eating, and not necessarily eating, but they're eating milkweed. They're eating bee balm. They're eating pollinators. So we don't want that, and they're just not, it's not good for them, and it's doing them more harm than good. We do have a city ordinance, and it is a $250 fine for first offenders. It goes all the way up to $1,000. So we don't expect people, we're gonna have to start in for it. I have one in my yard right now, a deer, that I don't know if she was hit by a car or what. She has a big, huge hunk out of her hind legs. Saw her Friday, called, she lived in the woods. The thing is, what some of you may not know, is when you feed them, you're taming them. So they're not scared of anything. I know it's not just Ward 1, it's all over, but on my daily ward checks, I see probably 50, 60 nose, and they're not scared. I'm out picking up trash, they'll come right up to my car thinking I'm gonna feed them. With that said, if they get hit and they come over and they die in your yard, you're responsible for getting rid of that carcass. So that might, remind your neighbor if they're feeding them. Again, I have handouts. Please, stop feeding them if you are. I know you mean well, but it's not good for them. Okay. I could talk all day about it. Like I said, there will be someone coming in from Metro. Mike, where'd you go, Mike? Mike will give us a date and it'll be posted. And I've noticed, everybody's probably noticed that in the water bill, it's on there talking about there is a fine for feeding them. So please stop. I don't want you to rush out and go call on your neighbor. I don't want any bad stuff like that. But if you do see your neighbor, ask them to stop doing it. Okay, second on there, something, and it's a good day to talk about this. And everybody knows that this is another one of my passion, is trash. I've asked Mike to give me some more trash cans. I'd like to have one, trying to get one on the end of Greencroft. Greencroft seems to be, everybody that speeds through there, comes through there, seems to dump trash on a daily basis. I can't always keep up with it. I've asked, the businesses there if they would kind of help out a little bit, because the tree lawns are their responsibility to keep clean, but it's up, so I've asked for a trash can to be put down by where most bus stops are. No, you're not gonna get people that are throwing it out, they're not gonna stop, slow down and throw it in the trash can, but the people that are out walking, and I appreciate, I saw, a young man, I don't know who he is, yesterday, out picking up on, Center Road, so whoever you are, thank you. And I see couples out, so if you are picking up trash, thank you. I'm gonna kind of give a challenge to the other wards. A lady in Akron did this thing, she got an award in Akron, of course Akron's bigger than us, for picking up over 1,000 pounds of trash. I know I pick up that much easily. But, so they gave her an award and stuff, so what she started doing was, she did a competition in the city on streets, who had the cleanest streets. It's kind of like what the Garden Club does with the Bedford Beauties. And it's it's just a bragging right, but it makes you, be aware of it. So if you can, please do your part. I'm going to start, I am working on the Bedford Clean Again, working on getting biodegradable bags, because I started thinking, okay, I'm picking up all this trash, then what am I doing? I'm putting it in trash bags, and that's going in landfills. So I'm not doing my part to save the earth. So I know Jen's kind of helped me, or trying to help me find some companies to get some biodegradable bags. So the trash pickup days in Ward 1 is going to be on a Tuesday in the summer, and then on a Saturday. So if you're interested in your Ward 1, would like to help me out, and we'll set a time once I get enough of people signed up on doing that. And not just the Greencroft Ferry, but that's probably where I get the most trash. But we'll try to do it by streets. So if you'll let me know on that. And then the next one is the speeding continues. I know that our guys are out there. I know PD. I know they're giving tickets. I know they're trying. I don't know what we can do. It's just like, of course it says ours too. So if you see someone or see a car that you notice a lot speeding, try to keep up with the time or the day or the make of car, because I do that all the time with Chief or with Mike. And then they've caught them. So that's become, of course, with summer coming, it's dangerous with our kids out walking and stuff. Let's see, what else have I not touched on? Continue to call me, Chris, Fob in the back. Thank you for letting me know. I did see that. I was jumping on top of it, but I didn't see the other trash bags. So sometimes I am out every day, but sometimes I miss stuff, put stuff I put out there. So I'm always available by phone, email, text. I like getting texts the most and emails the most because I can get them quick and get response right back to them. So thank you again, Ward 1. You're awesome. It's a pleasure to represent y'all. And like I said, I do have these up here if you'd like some afterwards. And that's it. Stay safe. Help your neighbor.
Mr. Longino.
Good evening, I'm sorry. Beautiful day, and I always start by saying this. And my wife said I shouldn't say this because of different people's face, but I always like to say God is good. And all the time. Thank you very much, all right. So I wanted to start by saying that I'm the rookie. So I tell everybody I'm learning on the fly, but I have a pretty good learning curve, from my military days and my days as a police officer. I got a call today, and the lady, normally I don't answer my phone because all those telemarketers and things like that, you got to kind of be leery. So I did answer it, and she started going on. I said, okay, this is definitely a citizen. But wasn't one of my citizens. She had the wrong number. So she started once she started talking, I said, whoa. I think you got the wrong number. And she didn't say, is this councilman? She just said, okay, you're right. So we left it at that. So I moved on from there, so I thought it would just be another one of those situations. I've had the question posed to me, how is it? And I said, some days it's like, why? And some days it's like, this is why. So, but as I always say too, like that song says, as long as my good days outweigh my bad days, I won't complain. And so far my good days have been outweighing my bad days, so I'm not going to complain. I'm going to touch on a couple things, and I'm happy to see some familiar faces, and if not going to be a familiar face, I hope you're a familiar face to me after I leave here tonight and in my next 4 years. Little things I wanted to touch on, garbage cans. You know, I had somebody call me and talk to me about garbage cans being out. And I said, man, it could not be that serious. And sure enough, this garbage can, they were out so long that they didn't even take them in. They took their bags to the curb and put them in there, and I said, but I have to say, my hero over there, Mr. Mike, has made me look like a superstar a lot, because a lot of times when I call him up, and a couple times it's like, I don't want to call Mike and bother him with this, but I call him up and he's right on it, and he calls me and tells me, one of my neighbors, and her husband's not here, but he called me and asked me about a blue line down our street one day, because on our street on Tarbell, we got cobblestones, and we want our cobblestones. I lived in Holland for years, and we love our stones on our street. He said, man, are they trying to pull them up? So I called Mike, and he said, no, there was something else going on. So made me look like a hero again. So, but let's get those cans in. I mean, come on. I mean, I think the worst part about that scenario is the resident had teenage boys who were in the yard playing basketball. So you telling me they walked past the garbage cans and did take them in? I think that's a problem, but that's something else. Okay. And the noise, now in the summer, I know we're going to have a lot of people and with their music and things like that, so that's going to be some issues. I'm going to tell you, I'm going to be honest with you, I had a neighbor across the street from me, and another neighbor had an issue with neighbor and the music, and he told me, he said, I'm calling the police, and I said, okay, when they come by, we'll see how that goes. So by the time they got there, the music had stopped. A little while later, music started up again, and he went over there. Now this guy's a pastor, so he was kind of amped. So I said, I got it, pastor. So I walked over there and I said, why don't we go over there? And why don't we take care of this? So, and I was honest, and I'll be honest with you. I told him, I said, I knew about your music. I didn't hear it, and to be honest, I didn't care. It didn't bother me. But I said, but guess what? Everybody else's problems in my ward are not my problems. So I said, now I care. So we got to take care of this. So we worked it out to the point where he competes. He has competitions that he does with his motorcycles, and he cranks up his system to get everything right. And I said, why don't you call and let your neighbor know when you're going to do it? And we came to a conclusion. I said, I got to be the devil advocate. We got to come to a happy medium. I said, because I don't think, I know I'm not going any place anytime soon. I don't know how long it's going to be before you leave. But he said, okay. And it worked out, because he called me the day he had it cranked. It was going to crank. I called and let him know. Took care of it with no problem. I said, man, that was an easy one. I don't think they all going to be this easy, in 4 years. But I wanted people to know that I can't solve everybody's problems, but we might be able to. You might be able to come to me and say, Tony, this is going on, and then I was just telling the chief, and I was telling Mike as a police officer, I used to have people come to the station and have issues and problems, and I'll say, what do you want me to do? And they kind of look at me. I said, no, tell me what you want me to do. I'll be able to tell you if we can do this. And I'll be able to tell you if we can't. Or you might have a solution. It just needs me to go over there and enforce it. And so I might not be able to, but we might be able to. And we are Bedford. We are Ward 6. So we might be able to handle it. So as I say, I'm learning. I'm making calls. And I've also learned that sometimes, I know these different places you can call. I learned about the... I keep forgetting what it is. It's the Cuyahoga Sewage.
Solid Waste District?
That's it, right, that was it. So I've met some people, and I gave the gentleman a number to give him a call, and nothing happened. He said, I've called 5 times. And when I called and said, this is Councilman Longino, they called me back in about 10 minutes. I said, so sometimes that call and that title helps. I didn't realize it, I told my wife, I said, one thing I just can't do is let this go to my head, right? So, like I said, I want us to be here together. I want us to work together. I want us to do things like that. This Saturday, my fraternity, we're going to be in downtown Bedford. We're going to be doing some cleanup and getting it ready. Ms. Spinks will be there telling us where to go and what to do, and we'll just listen to her and say, okay.
The
So,
Dunham Garden.
Huh?
I'll be cleaning up the Dunham Garden.
okay, that's what we'll be doing. Like I said, I didn't know, I just know she said be there and we'll be there. So we'll be doing that. So things like that. Like I said, the hesitation, like I said, I'm gonna be learning. And like I said, if I was good at everything, wow, I don't think I'd be here. I'd be a trillionaire or something right now. So, but I'm gonna try to work on it. I'm gonna try to learn. And like I said, don't want me to fail, because me failing probably is gonna mean the city or my ward is failing too. So help me succeed so we can succeed. And if you don't want me around in 4 years again, so, thank you.
Thanks, Tony.
That was short too, right?
I'm gonna call Mike up here in a minute, and then he'll introduce the administration and give a short program. And we have one more person that is part of our council team, and that's Tracy Simons here, our council clerk. So when you call the council office, this is who you talk to. And she keeps us all in line. Keeps us going. Mike, turn it over and
Mostly good. No, it's all good. Good evening, everyone. Sorry, I'm sitting over there and I'm fine, and I get up and all of a sudden I got a crackly voice, so I apologize. So thanks for coming out, appreciate it. For those watching, it's always good to interact. You can hear about some of the things that we're going to talk about, some of the projects that we're currently working on, some things that are coming down the pipeline, some of our concerns, some of our challenges, and then obviously, as the mayor said, we want to open it up and hear from all of you. First and foremost, I want to touch and acknowledge all of our department heads. It's all of them, and more importantly, it's all the staff. You know, it's the road workers, it's the firemen, it's the police officers, it's the staff down at the Parks and Recreation Department that are programming and doing all of the things, the grant writing. Those are the ones that are really making some incredible things happen. And I was sitting back looking at, around the holidays actually, it was the end of last year, and looking over some of the things that we've accomplished department by department over the last 8 years, and where we were and where we're at today is just extremely proud. And it's an honor to work with all of them, honestly. They're the ones that make things happen. So I'm going to go down the list real quick. Introductions, Chief Stemple with the police department. This will be Chief's last ward meetings as he is retiring this year. So, yeah. But thank you for all you've done, Marty. Clint Beller, our service director. Dave Nagy, our fire chief. John Howland, our finance director. Mike Callahan is our Parks and Recreation director. Jennifer Kuzma is here in our economic development office. And Sean Francis, I want to point him out, he's sitting over on the side hiding. He's with our Public Works department too. If you see any one of these individuals out, you grab them, you ask a question. The one thing that puts us and our staff above all else that I've always said is the individuals care. They care about the town, and that's important. You know, it's not just a job where you come in every day and you leave. So thank you. I want to start with that and extend my appreciation to all of them. So real quickly, going over some year-end, and this is a very, very condensed, kind of just bullet points, some things that we typically talk about at State of the City, but you can see where we ended in 2023 with our general fund reserve, our cash balance, and then also our reserves that are in place, that remain in place. We are over $9 million in total. I will say one of the things that where we were excelling and really were on the right track a couple years ago, I think it was 2022, we ended the year with the second largest reserve this city has ever had. And that's important because 6 months later, you realize you're gonna need that, right? When we heard the news about University Hospital, and that's why from a finance, and kudos to Jen and her staff, and Frank before him, and council. It's important to build those reserves. You know, we all do that at home, and we need to be good stewards of the funds because you never know when you're gonna need to rely on that. And now we are, obviously, we're looking at anywhere, worst case scenario, a shortfall could approach $1 million, although we didn't hit that much at the end of last year, primarily because not everybody is gone at the hospital. You know, they are maintaining some services there. There's labs that are going to be maintained there. It's all going to be primarily in the medical building. So our job that we're working towards is reducing that, obviously the loss, but also, and I hope you understand, there's only so much that we can say because it is in litigation. The one thing I'll say, and this is public, many don't know, I believe we probably would have been finished and had a resolution with the hospital late last fall. If you don't know, there was vandalism in the hospital, end of the year. A substantial amount of vandalism. An individual, our police department, excellent work by our staff, caught him. Actually, I believe he just pled, or he was at the county. But he, in essence, flooded the facility, and he caused millions and millions and millions of dollars of damage. So that has hampered some of the mediation, if you would say. But I can share that we're progressing. There's been discussions as recently as last week. Our primary goal is to bring some form of 24-hour urgent care emergency operations at that facility. It's important for not only Bedford, but it's important for the southeast side. We've not wavered on that, but those discussions are progressing. I will also say we always, and we've done this for 10 years, we've always looked at our operations, and just because something's been done a certain way for 15, 20, 30 years doesn't mean we're always going to do that. And we've made changes. Sometimes, you know, challenging changes that have been criticized, but that have worked out for the city and worked out for us. I can tell you one quick example of a change is, and he's not here because he serves as a dual role, our building department. Our commissioner had retired. It was a challenge across Cuyahoga County with a number of communities filling that role based on the certifications you need. Very, very, very difficult. At the time, we were having discussions with the city of Brooklyn and the mayor over there, Mayor Gallagher, who has since gone on to chief of staff, I believe, with County Executive Ronayne. But we came up with the idea of shared services, share that role. And what would that do? And ultimately we did that. We went through the hiring process, found an outstanding individual. Ultimately it saved the city about $40,000 to $50,000 that it saved Bedford. We have a commissioner. One of the things that we did, we brought on a part-time inspector, so we added another role to be out there more to try to address violations, address the grass, address, you know, if it's properties not maintaining. We're doing more of that. Last year's inspection totals and citations showed that. That's why he's not here. He's actually at the Brooklyn council meeting, which he's required to attend, but he will be at the other ward meetings. So we'll continue to do that, continue to think outside the box. If there's cost-saving measures, or even if it doesn't cost save, if there's just a better way to do things, we're going to do that. And I appreciate council's support in a lot of some of those off-the-wall ideas that we bring to them. Some of the hot topics here I just want to touch on. Tinkers Creek Commerce Park, I'll get into that a little bit later. A lot of development. If you haven't been over there, that has been years and years and years in the working. And kudos to Jen, Frank, A lot of work went into that, and it's great to see large buildings going up that are gonna employ a lot of people. Our fire department recently was awarded a $1 million grant last year, and that was a big lift, and kudos to Chief Nagy and the staff. That is going to go towards, I shouldn't say it's going to, because that's gonna help fund a new ladder truck. Our ladder truck is a 1992, and has already gone through one full refurbishment. So that $1 million grant is the largest grant FEMA offers, and we were successful in obtaining, or getting that. And then we'll be working to fund the remainder. That piece of equipment won't be delivered, we're probably looking at 3 years on site. Our police department, we've done a number of upgrades, not only along the auto mile, but we've installed the flat camera system at all of the entrance points to the city. Those are license plate reading cameras that are directly connected with every other flat camera across Cuyahoga County. So, for instance, if Shaker Heights reports a stolen vehicle and this is the information, if it goes through one of our cameras, we're alerted and we're aware of it. It's an outstanding tool. Those have been placed at every entrance of the city. And I can say that the Auto Mile has funded cameras all along Broadway, all along Rockside, and they've also provided funding for cameras which we're working to install now all down Broadway throughout the historic district. So it doesn't end there. We're also looking at, recently City Council approved security cameras that are located at the municipal pool. Following that upgrade, it'll cover the whole pool, it'll cover the outside skate park, and we're also looking at the possibility of installing them at some of our parks. The technology works, and it's a great deterrent. In a perfect world, we'd go out and we'd hire 25 additional officers to do more patrols. Unfortunately, not being in that position, you know, we're looking at technology and how we can utilize that for a deterrent. You know, you talk about numbers. We're in the process of hiring 6 individuals in our police department. A lot of turnover. Kudos to our civil service chief and his staff. We will be swearing in 3 new officers on March 6th, which is a good thing. May 6th, I'm sorry. Apologize. So it's a good thing. It's good. The technology is important. You know, we talk about speeding and all of those, all important. We also look at our numbers. You know, in 2014, we had approximately our total calls for service, and this is not crimes committed. It's just overall crimes. You know, vacation checks, all of that. We were 16,000. That was trending up from 12, maybe 10 years prior to that. Over the last 9 years, we completed 2023 last year, 24,000 calls for service. So that's 8,000 more calls. You do the math, you go backwards, how many more calls per day? We're responding a lot. Not all crimes, by no means, but more responses, more spending individual time, going through all of that is more time that an officer might be able to sit at a street and watch for speeders or things like that. The call volume has definitely increased. And we are 3 officers above where we were 40 years ago. So, the call volume is, it's eye-opening. If you get a chance, go on the city's website, State of the City last year. There's a lot of good graphs that we put in there. A lot of it tells a good story. You could see a decline over the last 5 years in, crimes. And mind you, they're not, some of these aren't a lot, so don't get, you might have had 7 or 8 robberies 4 years ago, and we had 4 last year. Same with burglaries. If there were, 10, it had dropped over the last so many years. Those have gone down. There's numbers that have gone up. We're not naive either. You know, vehicle thefts have gone up. I think we've all seen that, which is all across the county. So there's a lot of good data there. Our police department they're jamming, and they're doing a great job. And again, I think technology, we keep talking about that, is important. You know, body and dash cameras, we've had those for years now. The department just recently got a grant to fully upgrade those. And what they'll do is there is a software that does all the redaction for those videos. You don't think about these things, but when you have all those videos, those are public record. The amount of requests that we get is astounding. And we had to have individuals sit there and go through and redact. Those are individuals that could be out there doing things. So what do? Staff worked, we got a grant. I'm not even sure how much it is. It's 30, 40,000 in upgrades, but it's a software that will do it. Completely free up our staff, no money out of the city's budget, and it'll free up guys to do other things more. You know, not that that's not important, but be out in the street, working with our officers on the road, responding to complaints, maybe calling residents. So looking at our Parks and Recreation Department, you can see, you know, facility upgrades. Obviously I'm a homer for Parks and Recreation Department. I've came there, but you know, seeing what Mike and the staff have done down there. If you haven't been down to Ellenwood, go down to Ellenwood. If you haven't taken a look at this is the most recent program guide. It's over here, pick it up. That was mailed to everybody. What they've done over the last 5-6 years to the department, not only the facility, the rooms, space that you can rent if you want to have an event with your family. We only rent to Bedford residents and community organizations in town. People want to use it because it's great. They did a tremendous job. And the programs that are being offered, it's being offered for all ages. Take advantage of that. The pool facility is outstanding. That opened last year. I believe we're scheduled to open on Friday, June 7th. Good job. Friday, June 7th. Pool's scheduled to open. And then there's other things that are in the works there. One of the other pieces is I talk about programming. Mike and his staff have been successful in getting grants through senior services through Cuyahoga County, as well as the Department of Developmental Disabilities. It allows us to do a ton, and it's all reimbursed. If there's improvements or equipment, if it's sound, other items like that, for the center, we can get reimbursed by that. So a lot of the things we're doing, it's not costing us the money that it would if we were just completely out of pocket. So what's great is seeing this expanded, but it's being expanded at as minimal cost that we can do, or that we can. Infrastructure improvements, there's quite a bit. I will say Union Street Bridge, I put that on there, just that roadway is going to get closed. That's probably going to happen in 2025. That bridge is completely being reconstructed. And I keep throwing it out there because I want people to know it's going to be closed, and it's going to probably be closed for a year. They're saying 6 months. I don't think there's any way that it's closed for 6 months. So we're letting everyone know it's most likely going to be a year. That's right now, although it's not final, we're trying to plan for 2025. Northfield Road Bridge, all of those improvements, sidewalks, fencing, drainage, joint repair, parapet walls, all that, we've been pushing. ODOT, Clint, this is probably 5+ years, sending them 90 to 100 photos of the damage. They're finally out making those repairs. That's going to take some time. And then once that's completed, you know, we're going to continue the discussions about Northfield Road. That's next on the list. There's no schedule for that, but we know that that's important. You know, if you notice over the last couple of years, we've been really focusing on, you know, the arteries of Bedford. We addressed Broadway. You know, Columbus was done. We've done some crack sealing there. This year we're doing Turney Road, and that is going to go from Lee all the way just past the dip. It's not going to go the entire way. I like to say everybody knows where the lake is, like the house with the lake there. That's where it's gonna end, just past that. So that'll be this year. One big piece here is Greencroft, the roadway. So last year, we were looking at Greencroft to possibly install a new water line, possibly resurface. The culvert underneath, kind of at the dip, it was showing signs of failure. We had our engineers out there this year. They came back with a full report, and that is in critical condition. It has to get replaced. So that project, we're currently designing that work now. It is about, I think they came in a little less, I like to err on the side higher, but $550,000 to replace that. There's no way to replace that with keeping Greencroft open. So what will happen, a couple things. One, we have filed paperwork. We did reach out to try to get emergency funding through the state. They said it wasn't an emergency. Apparently they want it to completely fail. We think it's an emergency, but we're trying to be proactive a little bit. But there is a funding available through the State Infrastructure Bank. So we submitted application to that for that funding. We'd like to use others' funds before we use ours. We should hear that, I would think, over the next 45 to 60 days. Most likely that work would take place this fall. We would start it. And what does that mean? It means that temporarily we'll be reopening Thames. It's going to be the only way that has to happen. Everybody's going to have to go down Thames and around. If you're on the other side, you'll still be able to utilize Greencroft. There's just no way to do that as a one-lane road where you're doing half and half. It's just not safe enough. So both chiefs, we've already communicated with Maple Heights Safety Forces. They're familiar with kind of what's going on. Obviously, when more information comes out, we'll share that, but we have to get that replaced. We don't want to wait for, a complete failure. And what we don't want to do is redo a roadway, redo a water line, all things that we're planning. Got to do this first. It's the right, the right approach. So this year, look for that. Look for information to come out. We'll share it. I'm sure Councilwoman Spinks will share that. But that is happening. Storm and sanitary. That program is still going on. We work with Collier County. We address certain areas as far as heavy root cutting, cleaning. That has helped. It also has helped that the city has now got a mainline camera, so we're able to do a lot of exploratory work on our own to identify issues. Other thing that's not on here, but that we've been talking about at council meetings, if you've seen legislation passed, it is the no feasible alternative study, the NFA study that we're going through as a requirement from the Ohio EPA. So during our last permit renewal, the Ohio EPA, they look at all your operations, and we're not the first that has gone through something like this. They want to see minimal to zero any overflows and reduced infiltration into the plant. So the plant, it takes wastewater. Storm should not be going to the plant. Surface water should not be going to the plant, okay? During heavy rainfall, when that happens, that's what puts the plant at capacity, okay? So you have to do a no feasible alternative study. We've been working through a study like this for, I think, around 3 years. We have to formally submit it by the end of May. So what are ways to reduce infiltration? I'm really trying to break this down because it's a lot, but ways to reduce infiltration. Replace every storm sewer in the city. That's not feasible, right? Check, not possible. Require every residence to replace their sanitary line. That's not feasible. We're not going to do that, okay? Sanitary lines age, surface water gets into those sanitary lines during heavy storm, the plant is overwhelmed. That's not going to happen. Could go to regional, and again, none of these things are set in stone, but if you could go to regional sewer district. That is something that is extremely, we have concerns over that, the administration, we've shared that with council. As of right now, I can tell you that is not something we would recommend. The regional sewer bill a month is over $200. You know, I think our average sewer bill a month is $20, $30. It's massive. Another option is, what does the Ohio EPA want us to do at the plant? What improvements? Any massive improvements obviously could have a reflection of rates. So these are concerns of ours. What we did, and we went through that, we have a draft report, all of which is, you know, a lot to take in. But in an effort to kind of put ourselves in the best position to negotiate with the Ohio EPA, we recently, in council, authorized us to do a financial capability analysis. We want to tell the story of Bedford. We want to tell the story that, you know, when this city was created years ago, it was a combined sewer system. It wasn't two separate. And then the EPA made us go to one. There's no way to eliminate all. So, you know, what is the population and age? What is our median household income? All of these things are important to share with the Ohio EPA. So we're going through that now. I think we have a follow-up meeting next week. We'll be presenting that report to the Ohio EPA, and then obviously sharing that with the public and city council as well. But that's something, if you've noticed, we've been talking about this, passing legislation. It's a big item. It's a big item. And we're working to address it. Some grant awards, just flying by these things. You can see I mentioned Turney Road project. That's about it's about a $600,000 project, maybe a little over. We've received $250,000 grant from the county for that. That is a max. We've also received over $70,000 from the county. You'll see our staff will be working to crack seal roads, long line striping, all of that's covered. Material is covered through that grant. $150,000 grant this year for police cruisers that we're replacing. Those cruisers have, I believe, over 120,000 miles. So those and they won't be retired. They'll be moved to another department. So we're gonna keep using those, but they won't be police cruisers. You see the almost $750,000 for the Commons project, which we'll touch on, as well as another small business grant that we're going to be working to roll out in the next month or two, $50,000, and that was a county grant as well. You know, you talk about our neighborhoods, you know, some of the hot items that we've talked internally. One, we've really strengthened our relationship with the county land bank. They have really worked to take homes down if we need to. I can tell you there's a number that are on the list right now that have long been empty, that are tied up in county court through the there's a couple that are out there that individuals are $100,000 in back taxes. They're still living there. I don't know how, but they're still there. And that's not just Bedford, that's across the entire county. It's an issue. They've made some changes to their procedure on how they address that, but we've been, we've really tried to. Center Road, right here, that was one prime example. I think that was 103,000, and they were living there, and ultimately it came down. But there's 3 properties that we're looking to take down this year, and then the land bank is looking at a number of the lots to build. They're going to be presenting drawings to build new homes on some of the parcels that the city has taken ownership of. A strong program, successful on their behalf, and we're excited to have them here. Looking at some of the building, I talked about adding the inspector. Most likely, if you're familiar with a home, or if there's an issue that you're like, what's going on, I would probably bet that we've already been out. We've been out multiple times, and there's probably a good chance they've been cited. There are the unique situations, and I'll give you one that I struggle with. There's a property in one of the wards. Dad passed away. Mom's 98, and she's in a nursing home. And son's got cars, and he wants to put them wherever and throw trash all over. You can't cite the son by law. And I'm not going to go and cite a 98-year-old lady in a nursing home. I mean, that's something that we struggle with. So in those unique circumstances, we're trying to work with our law director on trying to address that, trying to have conversations. But ask her, if you know of a property, bring those to us, and we'll look at it. We may not have the answer. If we didn't get there, we'll get there. But a lot of them, you know, they probably have some orders on those, on us trying to address them. Speeding, that's another big thing. We're actually, I'll touch on in a minute, the TLCI, it was a NOACA study. We got a grant funding to connect downtown with the parks, but they also expanded to look at other traffic calming measures. You know, one suggestion is that they're recommending is obviously the crosswalk downtown. Another one is speed tables. Speed tables is the hot topic. We have looked at and we read the pilot program. Cleveland utilized those for a year. There was a lot of pros that came out of that. There was some negatives that came out of that. Some of the comments from the residents where those were put on residential streets, they are loud. They are loud. And again, not to say that we're not going to look to those. One area, Broadway, but there's also some residential streets. Jen has had conversations with NOACA that will provide them to Bedford, possibly at no cost, as a pilot program to see if they would work. We're looking at trying those shortly. But again, we're looking at different things to try to address some of the concerns. I will say it's not by a lack of effort. You can see here our citations, speeding, overnight parking, if it's parking on the grass, we doubled those from 22 to 23. All of those numbers doubled. So we're going to continue that. I know Chief has some thoughts on some target areas that we're looking to address, some of the streets that we know are easy to, you know, up and down. What can we do to reduce that? We're going to look at that. I'm going to touch on Zellia real quick. There was some conversation, oh my God, they're closing, they're laying individuals off. They are laying some individuals off. That was accurate. That came out at the end of last year. They are not closing. It is a strategic measure that they've made internally. In short, they came out with, and they're one of, I think, only 2 companies worldwide that is creating the pharmaceuticals ready to go in an IV bag. All right, only 2 places in the world where these are made. We're one of them. They also had the old vials, right, the glass vials. They made the decision to cease the manufacture of the pharmaceutical in the vials. And they're going all in on the bags. So short term, yes, they reduced that whole line. There's individuals tied with that line. But I believe long term, they're going to be fine. We met with them about a month ago, walked through the facility, the investment that they're continuing to make. I think it's a strategic decision, and I think they're going to continue to expand beyond that. Hikma, I mentioned, they own the building in the back, separate businesses. They are strictly research and development. When they first started 8 years ago, I think they had 7 people. They're now approaching 70. So they're growing, you know, an important number, high-paying jobs. It's good for the city. But Zellia's not leaving. You see some of the business investment, significant. Tinkers Creek Commerce Park. Cleveland Tank and Supply, their building is up, that's on the top left. They're going to be relocating somewhere between 60 to 70 employees from Cleveland here. Manufacturing facility, good paying jobs. Top right is about 110,000 square foot facility that is going to be the new home of Lakeshore Electric. We believe within 5 years that company, the owners, when they purchased that, they were down to 15, 20 individuals. They'll be over 100 employees in 5 years. They're doing great, and we're glad that they're remaining in Bedford. There was if we didn't resolve this park, there was a strong chance we would have lost them. So again, kudos to the staff that worked on that. And then another example of, you know, it's not development, it's redevelopment, is another company that was growing that needed to find space. Bedford did not have space. That was APEC Engineering. They recently had an open house at the site on Northfield Road. We took ownership of the Y at no cost to the city because it was tax foreclosure. And we pitched that idea, and that owner wanted to be in Bedford, loves Bedford. He had since, I think he's building a house in Bedford now. We went through, they had their open house last month, and it's unbelievable. And that's an engineering firm, and they're, I think, gonna be approaching 25 individuals. High-paying job, very professional, good space. So, good things happening there. Our auto mile I touched on, and their investment with our K9 units and our cameras that they're funding, as well as Honda. Honda still has plans. They're not ready to move just yet on the construction of their facility at Bartlett and Rockside. I believe a lot of that has to do with the economy. Hopefully that will improve. But they want to remain in Bedford. They will remain in Bedford. And hopefully we have that super Honda at that corner that's been vacant forever. Looking ahead, there's still property in Tinkers Creek Commerce Park that we're working to market that for businesses looking at new construction. We'll be rolling out that small business grant throughout the downtown area in a couple of months. You know, our land bank, I touched on those residential lots that they're looking at. The TLCI study, that was very important, and there's some details here. I brought those boards from some of the meetings at Ellenwood, and thank you to everyone that came. It was very informative, a lot of input. This was a required step to go through this study that will allow us to apply for construction dollars. And the goal is that we've been talking about, is connecting the historic district, specifically Bedford Commons, with Viaduct Park, with Egbert Road. So all of the visitors that are in the Bedford Reservation have a direct access to downtown. A lot of good information came out of that study. In addition to connecting downtown, there's actually a trail connector that'll continue and actually connect right back here behind City Hall, which is an existing trail to the parks. So good stuff, but before we applied for construction dollars, we needed to go through this study. There also was a lot of good data, good suggestions, some best practices to address traffic concerns, if it's speeding, if it's parking, if it's traffic flow. So we're looking at some of those things, which I've mentioned. You know, we talk about some of the concern from the public that was at those meetings, the crosswalk, the speeding, the speed tables. What are some things that we can do? So we've talked about that, and we'll be looking to go after funds to address it. The other thing that I touched on before we kind of open it up, and I apologize, I've been windy. 4 or 5 years ago, we started talking about the Commons and expanding that. And the Commons is great now, but how do we make it even better? Most of you remember that rendering that was kind of worked up. This is where we're at today. This is what was shared at our public meeting. And this is what we're going with. We're actually finalizing the designs, and we will be going out for bids this year, and there'll be shovels in the ground this year. That's gonna happen. What you see here is on the right-hand side, the gray rectangle, that's the existing train depot. Behind that will be more public space, gathering space for families to go, large pavilion, a great spot that will tie into us connecting to the parks and Viaduct Park. You see some of those ideas. These are some of the renderings of what we'll be looking to install. If it's a water feature, swings, gliders there for space to go down, all of which is obviously, we've gotten a substantial grant to do this. There'll be some utility work that we'll have to address, but we will do that. So it's good stuff. It's exciting. I think to be able to pull off a project like this with minimal amount of funds on our end is something to be proud of. And I think it will definitely make an impact downtown. And I think it's something that the community can be proud of, so. With that, that's all I have, kind of open it up there. And there are some handouts, if you'd like to see that on both sides, feel free.
A lot of info. And now, we want to get to your questions. And what we're going to do, I'd like to start questions on one side, then the other, kind of keep it moving. And one question at a time, and if we go through everybody's questions, then we'll open it back up to individuals who want to ask another question. Okay? So, first question. One at a time. Yes.
Okay, you're taking a parking lot to expand the commons. What are you gonna do to provide parking?
Well, we thought that was one of the first things we thought of.
Because it's a convenient place for those of us who are seniors to
Yep.
park when we're going to the square.
Right?
So if you're in the post office parking lot, right, and you're looking out into Willis, let's say you're looking at that parking lot we're talking about, right to the left, so there's North Park. Right there on the left is an existing parking lot. The city owns that.
Very small.
Yeah, right. I'm getting there. And, and then next to that is another property. It's kind of like a triangle. We were able to get a grant for land acquisition, and through that grant, we bought the majority of that parking lot. Okay, so that owner just needed the warehouse. He needed like 2 or 3 spots. So we utilized the grant funds. I think it cost the city, or technically the county, it was $25,000, and we acquired that parking lot, and we're gonna be redesigning that to make it larger. We're still not there yet. If you're looking at, is it a complete wash? It's not. The existing parking lot that you're referring to is, I think, about 35, give or take, spaces. When we're done over there, we'll be adding somewhere between 13 to 17. So we're still not exactly a wash, but we are looking at one other move that I think would solve that. But that's one of our concerns, we're aware of it, and we want to make sure that we address parking. Yeah. I will say, full disclosure, we looked across the street
Who owns that?
at the lot, I'm sorry,
Who owns that grassy lot across the street?
that is owned, I believe, by the Cerna family. Yeah, we did look at that. Still had to cross Broadway, wasn't as close as this opportunity. And then there's also one other opportunity that we're looking at that I think would be another big win and would completely address. And again, we were able to acquire that and it didn't cost the city anything, so. But that's a good question, it's something we thought about right off the bat.
Yes.
Did the city take down no parking signs?
Take down no parking?
We're missing one on Ennis. Two? Yeah, we're missing
I
that.
think the only no parking signs we removed were the temporary ones on Washington following the construction. But I'm not, we didn't take it, we can look at it, and, like on the hill?
Further up.
Further up. Yeah,
Like
that-
61.
Yeah, by Byward Garden.
Yeah.
Yeah, uh-huh.
I see you check on that.
We able to park down to there, now it's,
We're parking all the way down the
they're
hill.
parking all the way down the hill, they park, pull up right up underneath the no parking signs.
So that when people turn down Garden, people coming up the hill,
Yeah.
that's the problem.
Okay.
Yeah, chief made note of that. Take a look. Over here. We're on this side. Then I'll get to that.
Okay.
Okay, yes.
Actually, these are right next to each other, so can I combine two together?
One.
Well, there's 11 Broadway and then the Broadway Diner. So
Okay.
they're right by each other.
Yes.
So just wondering what's happening with those.
11 Broadway.
the old Mazda dealership,
Oh,
and then Broadway Diner.
yeah. The Broadway Diner, a guy bought it and started to rehab it.
Yeah.
And him and his brother, I think it's his brother, owned another restaurant. COVID came along, that destroys everything. They can't get enough help at their regular restaurant, so he's been struggling to try to figure out how to open this one. The Mazda building,
The Mazda building was purchased by, last year, it was I believe it was a national used car,
From the south.
yes.
Yes.
But they have not submitted any plans or that to go ahead and renovate that to open yet. Last we spoke to them was right after the first of the year, so I don't have a status update yet.
Yeah, they've got a presence in the south.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
yes.
I was staying on that same property behind the home train depot, but my concern is, has anyone looked at where that yield sign is, where people come on a little cut through by Los Gallos, but people are coming down that street? People that are coming and aren't yielding, they don't know what yield means. You're coming the other way, because I never go down that little street anymore, because either way, I've been almost creamed several times. And you can't see if you're going one way. I just didn't know if anybody looked into that or studied it, because I know if there's a stop sign, people will just blow through it anyways, which they do all the time, but I didn't know if that was a study or anybody looked at that situation.
That's been looked at. You cannot put a stop sign there, the railroad will not permit that. And that was the solution, was a yield sign.
All right, yeah. I figured it was, I know you can't just throw signs or take signs willy-nilly, but yeah, I know how to get away from it, but I take my life very seriously. And congratulations on your retirement.
Thank you. We're not gonna let him retire. After now. Over here. Yes.
I guess staying on that subject, I was talking about the grassy area right next to the post office across the street.
Oh,
Does the post office own that?
yes, we've been after that property for years and years. It's owned by a doctor, and, he just wants $100 billion.
Oh, cool.
Actually,
And yeah, go ahead.
to that, our last communication, we originally requested that if he wanted to donate it to the city, we could acknowledge the donation. That didn't work. We made an offer. He said, no, we did not counter. And that offer was close to the tax value, the appraised value of that. Our last communication was, what are you looking for? And he just didn't respond. So there's no interest. We made him take that sign down that was there for 35 years. Yeah, we finally made it, we ordered that down because, but he has no interest in selling that, unfortunately.
Yeah, and mentioning the coming soon sign, where Zach's Super Center opened on Rockside and Northfield. Because when the guy bought the property, I said, how about put something up that tells people you're gonna be moving in here? So he put a coming soon sign there, it was there for 5 years. Yeah, fortunately, he's open now, so it's an interesting store in there, it's nice and clean. Wish him well up there. Anybody else? We'll just open it up to anybody. Yes?
Can I ask you what's going on with the purchased old campus property? And what will happen to the old schools once they start?
Schools, yeah, they're gonna tear down 7 schools and build 4 new ones. Cause you just don't have the population to put kids in them. And the schools are old.
So Central isn't considered like an historical because of the age?
Well, that has come up to look at. You got something more on that,
Yeah, so it's correct. I mean, the Glendale will be taken down, and Central will be taken down. I don't know the answer about the historical piece, but what I do know, and the schools would be able to better explain this, if the school vacates the building, okay, so let's say they build these new schools and go to the new schools. If that is not taken down, if they have that, they have to make it available there's some type of law, and again, check with them for clarity, but they have to make it available to charter,
Sort of like they do with Aurora.
to charter schools, and they don't want to do that. I mean, that takes away from the Bedford City Schools. So most likely, we're not the schools, but if I were a betting person, they're gonna build the schools, and Glendale would come down, Central would come down, Carrollwood would come down. Those three locations in Bedford, there'll be no buildings, it'll be green space. Because if they kept those buildings, they cannot deny another school to utilize that. And obviously that takes away from the district, they want the children. But I would pose that question, they'd be able to better explain that, but it's something along those lines.
Yes.
Is the city interested in buying the old part of Central School? Wasn't that the original high school?
No,
No?
the original one burned down years ago. The one that's there now is the second building.
I would say, trying to choose my words wisely. We wouldn't purchase it. Would the city have an interest in, I guess, controlling the land for best use for the residents here, the public? They're in residential districts, sure. But I don't think we're gonna outright purchase those, no.
Maybe the school would give it to you.
The reason they can't reuse Central is because the boiler system in the basement at school is under the classrooms. So it can never be used as a school again, according to state regulations. So it's potentially a bomb under the school. So that's one of the reasons why that one's going. I went to all the meetings.
Yes.
I have another question. When we first moved to Ennis, like 36 years ago, every tree line had a tree. Now we're probably 75% bare. And we just had a huge tree they took down on Snow's front lawn.
Yeah.
Can we get trees put on Ennis?
Presently, there's no money budgeted for purchasing trees. I know Jen applies for, Jen over here applies for, she's applied and we've received 2 grants already for tree planting. And next successful grant, will definitely address it.
Thank you.
If a resident purchases a tree, like and gets it approved through, like, can we have it for our tree?
Call my office and we approve it, or not approve it, tell you what you should plant there,
Okay.
and the size you should plant, so for survival,
Yeah, we also have a tree board that uses that stuff too, along with
We have an arborist on staff also.
Would Bedford be replacing sidewalks this year?
Right, this year what we're looking at is we're waiting to see what the Turney Road project comes in at. That's where the majority of our road program is going into. Typically what we've done is when we have the funds, we budget every year around $50,000. That will go towards the area of the road that's getting replaced. So, I know that doesn't exactly answer your question. If you're asking, are we gonna be on your street, I can tell you no, unfortunately. What we've been doing is utilizing, like last year we did Broadway, sections of Broadway that were addressed. But the year before that we did some walks along some of the other streets that we were resurfacing.
Well, some of the sidewalks were repaired, gas companies. That was bad.
I just want to say thank you to the service department because I feel they have the most underrated group in the city and I think they do a phenomenal job. And I just wanted to say thank you and be nice to things.
I'm sorry.
Well, no, I was just gonna say, I can kudo that too, because when we had a gutter blockage, which turned into more than a gutter and a pipe, it was sewer or the whatever they have, the sanitary pipe that was blocked. And I did talk to Clint and was able to get some answers, and he was trying to look up what was in my yard and what's the plans and everything else, so, you know, if we were able to replace part of that pipe, and presumably it's going where it's supposed to go, but I know that people on Facebook can turn into a nasty thing, because Bedford apparently doesn't come out and check inside of your house anymore, and, you know, back in the, you know, it's too sad that we all have the memories that have lived there for a long time. Whoa, they used to do that, they used to do that. And life changes, and not everybody can do what you guys used to do. But you're still nice to work with, you still give suggestions, you get very helpful. So I think people need to realize that. So kudos again, thank you for bringing that up.
And on that note, I wanted to say that I appreciate the pool and the improvements, and just, you do a great job, and Gennady and Liskey, like, just, it's a great staff, and I really appreciate all that you do, and all the opportunities that are afforded to the residents.
Appreciate that, thank you. We have a great team, a very committed team that cares very much, so thank you for recognizing them.
We in Parks and Rec, citywide, go on our website if you know, actually Councilman Smith and I, and Mike, we recently were at the high school, we actually participated in a job fair for the students. We have a number of positions that we're filling, if it's maintenance, if it's at service, if it's Parks and Rec, at the pool, lifeguarding, we'll train lifeguards. You know, we were up there passing out applications, trying to get, you know, there's jobs, you can make a good buck over the summer. And you never know, I mean, a lot of our staff, that's where they may have started. You know, they went to Bedford High School, they went to Chanel, they were working part-time, full-time opens up, you know, so if you know students, if you know, send them our way. Have them go on our website, contact the departments. Same thing with my normal plug that I get, if it's the Bedford Rotary Club, if it's the Lions Club, if it's the Historical Society, all these organizations, they do a lot of good stuff, a lot of events, a lot of activities. It's all volunteer. They can use volunteers. If you got some time, if you know of individuals, contact those community organizations. I'm sure it won't turn you away. And those are the types of things that I think make the community good.
I've been responsible for decorating the cemetery for Memorial Day for the past 50-some years, and I have to say
Thank you.
that Scott Spencer down at the cemetery has been fantastic to work with. And as you look around the city of Bedford for Memorial Day, the square, the cemetery, everything, it's beautiful.
Yeah, you guys do a nice job.
Thank you for that. Thank you for what you do.
Yes.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. What is going, I don't know if you can answer this, what is going on with the house at, what is it?
She wants to talk about a specific property.
Oh, what is it?
Speak out loud about it.
190, what is it?
If you want to talk after, we can.
Okay,
If you
yeah,
want.
that's what I thought.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, don't go away.
I was wondering if you could point me in the right direction or whatever. Our house is over 100 years old, and I would like to get one of those centennial, or whatever, those things that plaques. And I don't know if there's someplace to get them. You have to have somebody sign off, I know my house really is that old. I don't know what to do.
So,
We've been looking at a program now for a while, and, because my son's house is 100 years old.
Yeah.
so that's on me. I'll take this. But
Okay.
I will say, 2 years ago, we put together a program, application, everything, the parameters to where a resident can come in and basically apply, fill out. We have everything ready. What we wanted to do was secure, we wanted to look at, we have the design, everything to where we'll be able to present it to your home, you can mount it outside. And believe it or not, we ran into huge issues trying to find a supplier. That's why we haven't rolled it out. There was some at Home Depot, I don't think they would last. And then when we went to some of the specialty places, it was right after the pandemic, the cost was insane. We were looking to see, could it be something that the city can absorb to provide as a thank you, you know, I mean, and we would also we'd like to go out, make sure there's no, you know, violations on the home, things like that. Right, I don't know. Not like that, like visual, like just from the street, like it's not the roof's caved in like that. We don't want to award some, that's what I meant. But, you know, we ran into issues with that, and we have the whole file literally ready to go. We haven't pinned down a provider of that plaque. We want to make sure that's consistent, so it's going to be the same one for years.
See, I didn't know if I had to call the county.
No, that'll be on us, and that's on me, that it hasn't been rolled out yet. I will make a note, and we'll try to get that going, so.
Not really my word, but I'm gonna ask this. Are permits required when you have a march or a parade on our streets?
Yes.
Were permits granted on Saturday?
Can you address that one? No, they were not permitted, issued, but we were not aware of that prior to Saturday.
You weren't, I'm sorry?
The parade at March was a surprise to us on Saturday also.
Oh,
We had no knowledge of that ahead of time at all. We knew that the group was gonna do an event, and the city had worked with them ahead of time to coordinate what they were gonna do at Taft Park. The event started on Broadway at the storefront, and then they were gonna go up to Taft Park. So we were aware of those two events going on, the toy giveaway at the storefront, and then a children's event at Taft Park. And we were aware of both of those, and like I said, the city worked with them as far as what they can do at the park. But we were not aware of the march ahead of time at all. So our officers obviously got some calls on it, and they were already there. And this group had traffic control, like flaggers out with them, which helped, and it was a short parade, but they were not, they did not go through the proper channels ahead of time.
okay. Thank you.
You had, wait,
I know.
you have one in the back there?
Yes, I want to say to all council members, I appreciate that you've taken on wanting to be a council member. I realize it's not easy. I'm in your Ward 6, but something that's just seems to be occurring, I'm not really seeing where it's being managed well. And that is just the speed. I mean, I come through passing Fairfield High School and leaving responsibility to go home, and generally around the time where the school signal is flashing. And occasionally, and not to make it sound bad, there may be sometime a police officer on the side of the road where the Chanel is. I'm going through there, and I'm noticing I'm holding the speed. This car is just passing me. I'm seeing a police officer over here on the side. I'm saying, what about this guy over here? You know, I mean, you're over there. Why aren't you stopping this guy? So, speeding and maintaining safety in our community, I have said in a past meeting, I'm just not seeing where it's being addressed. I see these new signs where the stop signs are, they're flashing. But they don't stop.
No.
They don't stop. I mean, I could have told you that. They don't stop. They do not stop. What I would like to suggest, maybe all the council members get together and work with the police department, because I'm hoping the council members can say, I know the hot spots in my area. Can we set up stings, whereas we got a group of people on any given day, the public doesn't know it, we're going to come in there and start cracking down. They don't know we're coming. Because I would hope that the ward representatives would know where the hot spots are in their area. But the speeding, I tell you what, it's just ridiculous. I mean,
Yeah.
but I don't see the police.
And Mike mentioned it in his presentation, and it's a problem everywhere.
I'm not
It's here,
saying.
and we're worried about here. I understand.
Yes.
It's all over, but we're worried about here.
Yes.
And you have to be careful how you set up a speed. There's so many the city department has to go by the laws. The speeders don't. They have to get it. And that's what all this stuff. The bad people don't have to play by the rules. We do. But maybe you can.
Yeah, so I hear your concerns, I really do. I hear it from many, many people. And like we said, it's not, Bedford's not immune to that problem. It's everywhere. But everybody sees it, and they rarely see the police. I get it. There's only so many of us to go around, and we're trying the best we can. And just because you don't see us doesn't mean we're not addressing it. Now, we did double our traffic citations, the parking citations over the last year, so we're doing more than we have been in the past. The unfortunate thing is there's more speeders and more traffic violators now, and everybody sees it, and it's a chronic problem. We're doing the best we can. For that one situation, you said you saw a policeman on the side, but you didn't see him stopping the speeder, so I can't say what he was doing at that time, but there's many times officers are in a certain area for other reasons, not running traffic. So he may be just getting done with a call for service, talking to the dispatcher, whatever, and seeing a violation, so he can't see everything at once. But as far as the hotspots, our policemen are very aware of the hotspots in the cities, but we will work with the councilman to find out the specific ones in their wards. And I'd love to get to a point where we could put a dedicated traffic unit to go out and address these spots at any given time. But we're not quite there yet. So our officers, between the 23,000 calls for service a year, are trying to run traffic in between. And my officers know, because I'm always on their rear end about it. If they have any downtime, they're gonna be watching stop signs, they're gonna be watching for speakers. But there's only so much downtime between all those calls for service. Because
Couple of things, if I could just add. You've probably seen like the speed sign, that you may have seen it like on a pole. It's moved around. It's, one week it's working, another week it's not working, nothing shows. It's working all the time. That sign's working all the time. What that does is when that goes up, we collect that data, and our team, our department looks at that data, identifies, there is a concern. These are the hours of when there is a concern. And then we kind of work to approach it that way. Sometimes when it's not showing, it's still collecting. Because sometimes when people see, if it's 35, oh my God, I'm 42, they slow down. And, it doesn't, it's not going to give an accurate information. So when it's shut down, it's really not shut down. It's still collecting that data. And it'll allow us to address it that way. A lot of times, like I said, it helps us identify certain hours of time. It's also helped us where we had one resident, they were adamant, these cars are going, 65 and it's in a 35. We left that sign up for a month, no one ever went over 41 miles an hour. So it also proved hey, we know that's not a hot spot, So we try to do some things like that allow our guys the best chance of addressing if there's, a lot of time it's certain periods of time. Now, I get it, there's the ones that happen all, there is no rhyme or reason on times. I had a conversation with another councilman over here, I think it was last year, and there was one individual, every morning, I think it was 7 o'clock, she refused to stop at this stop sign, she ran it every day. And we were out there, and our guys got her the very next morning, ticketed her, and you know what she did the very next morning after that? She ran right through it. And I think we ended up giving her like 2 tickets. It's like, I get it. And those are things like, we understand. And I think, are there some things that we could, if it's a traffic enforcement or the unit, if we can get to that, that'd be great. We're not there yet. We are, as far as the transitioning, hiring, and training, the next few months are going to be a challenge on our staff, but we understand those concerns. And if there are hot spot streets that, let us know. Shoot me an email, call me. We may be aware of those, most likely, but maybe not. Maybe, like I said, maybe there's a couple residents in the morning that, or let us know that.
Yeah, get that chronic one that does it the same time every day. Those, like you just said with that one, they can focus on those.
So I'll just address everyone at the same time, thank you for bringing that up, and I don't wanna make excuses or dismiss your concerns. I really do wanna hear them. And if anybody's got concerns about speeders, anything that has to do with the police department, you can call my office, call my secretary, shoot me an email. My patrol lieutenant's information is on the website. He's the one that's gonna field most of these complaints anyway, so you can shoot him an email or give him a call. And we wanna hear it. We wanna hear it from you guys. Because we know we're aware of many hotspots in the city, not only for traffic, but for crimes. But we wanna hear everything, because we're here for you guys. So don't hesitate to bring it up, see me afterwards, shoot me an email or anything.
Adding to the list of hotspots and problems, are you aware that directly in front of this property is a problem with, I have been overtaken past twice in the last month, and it's like a snub to the face of like, yep, right in front of the police. So, and I live on Center Road just up a ways, so this whole way is aggressive passing, tailgating, bad stuff.
Yeah.
I was not aware of that hotspot, but like I said, it is everywhere, but thank you for bringing that up to me.
I do understand, and I need to express the frustration. The automatic response, this is everywhere. That's not the response that any of us want to hear. So that, with respect to everyone here, I'm tired of hearing that it's everywhere. I'm living here. So please refrain from that because it dismisses the person who's spoken to you.
Well, like I said, I
Exactly,
don't want to
that's what we
dismiss
said.
anyone's concerns, and I do want to hear from you guys. And I'm just trying to explain to you that it's not just in Bedford, it is everywhere. But I do want to hear from the residents and from your neighborhoods, your streets, what specifically is going on.
I have a scathingly brilliant idea. What you can do is deputize all of us. We can change our license numbers. I know the police have to see it. I've been there with drunk drivers and everything else. But, I mean, we could be your 11th man or whatever that is. We would happily do that for you. So you look into the law, find a way, and I'll do it for you.
So we've had people offer their driveways for the police to sit in and where they can hide them and all kinds of things, but again, we have to play by the rules. That's what makes it tough.
We need to do something about that crosswalk in downtown Bedford. People do not stop. They never stop. I was in the middle of the walkway and they just, if I had a brick, I could take through a windshield. And the US Bank is right there, they don't have a parking lot. But that crosswalk is dangerous.
There was some good feedback and good data from that study. And we're looking to implement one of the suggestions from that study. It's not gonna, I don't wanna give it'll never be an issue, cars aren't gonna blow through it, but I think when those were put up, I think originally, they got the steady flash, when that's 24/7,
They
it's
don't
always
stop.
on, it's just a norm. One of the things that they're doing now is, I don't know if it's on there, I think it is on there actually, under number 1. It's a push button where you're gonna enter it, you're gonna activate it, and it'll be a strobe. We're looking at cost estimates for that, and that was a recommendation directly out of the study that we completed earlier this year.
Doesn't Hudson have something like that?
Yes, that is one. They do have one like that.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I suggested about 10 or 12 years ago, put 2 spotlights up there at night, especially a rainy night. You don't even see people standing just off of the sidewalk wanting to cross. Nobody ever did anything about it.
The overhead sign has spotlights.
You've got lights there now.
Inadequate.
You got lights there now. Direct them so it's a spotlight
On the
that
side.
you can see the pedestrians when they want to cross the thing. I brought that up 12 or 15 years ago.
We did change,
First put that thing up.
The original, I think we did about 3 years ago, 4 years ago, originally they were dim. They were almost like a yellowish light on the top. We did change those out directly, so it lights the walk-up. I think it definitely improves, but your suggestion is kind of more towards the side, I think.
You've got the electricity up there.
Yeah.
Put two to the side, two down. Put what you're saying, a button there, make it a red light. Make that turn red up there. When I want to cross or she wants to cross, we hit the button, it turns red. It's a bad situation because you can have a car, it's happened to me. Someone wanted to cross, but I couldn't see them, they were halfway across. And I'm going out of town. And I didn't see the person. This was in a daily. So there is a problem.
I just would like to ask what is real, because there's, we have the downtown area for kid friendly, you're gonna have all the parks around, and you have the businesses there, and some of the businesses are a little concerned because they've heard that the apothecary, bought the storage, building across from the post office with a mural on it, because they couldn't sell marijuana on a state street, but they could sell it over there. And I don't know if that's, but I mean, some of the owners and stuff that we do, you just have to be careful when you do that, and I wanna know what this really happens.
Yeah, I'll address it. So they've owned that building for quite a while. I don't think they just purchased it.
That's my.
Yeah, I don't know, I'm just, I think it's primarily used like for a warehouse. Under our current zoning, the distribution of medical marijuana, that is only permitted in the mixed-use district, as our zoning is written right now, which would be up near, yes. So it is not a permitted use in any other zoning district in Bedford. Now, can anybody apply for a variance through BZA or things like that? Sure, they could. Ultimately, it would go to BZA and then to City Council. But as of right now, it's only permitted in the mixed-use district. And I would say, who knows where it's gonna go, the years to come. It's not easy to get those licenses. I mean, it is not like you just apply. It's a process. So it's not as simple as submitting something to downtown and get, Columbus, and getting that approval.
Yes.
Just the chief, is there anything being done about Grand Boulevard Speedway? It's terrible.
That's definitely
Somebody's
one of our
gonna get
hotspots.
killed.
That's a hot spot.
Is it a hot spot? I just see it every day.
Yeah, there's a few streets in the city that are like cut-throughs or long stretches.
Well, I think they're taking a place of Rockside, right?
Yeah. That's been a problem as long as I've been
Really?
here.
It's terrible, it's dangerous where it is now. And
Yeah, Sandy's up here
I
every day
just
talking
wanna know
about that.
if.
Every day I turn something in. I call all the time.
Yeah, it's all streets. I see in front of my house on Archer Road where the big sweeping curve that if it's 25 and you can do 30. But when I hear your tires squealing, I know they're going way too fast. Or they have to hit their brakes because they're going too fast. How do we get people to be responsible for themselves? Age-old problem, and there's no parental control anymore, very little, and just society is turned into Wild West. And we're trying to address that, like I said, as we go within our rules that we have to obey.
Is there any ordinances or whatever about parking in the grass?
Yep.
Is it ever enforced?
Yep.
Yep.
sidewalk.
They blocked the sidewalk, and what he's doing now is he's catty corner on the end of the driveway and cross the whole sidewalk into the apron. It's every day. This guy get a ticket for this stuff? I'm really upset about this.
You can get the chief an address.
You're on Ennis?
No,
I'm familiar with that
I know
property,
you are.
and that's one of the ones I can talk with you
Yes.
after, I just wanna.
Yes, that's what I would like to find out.
It is, I can tell you it's not been ignored, but I'll.
I know it hasn't, but I talked to Liz too, so.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, good.
Yeah.
And now that you've cracked down on not feeding the deer, we need to bring in some more wild ones again, because our tame deer are nice, and they wait for the traffic. If we have some wild deer, and those speeders are cracking in the car, there's a problem solved.
It's interesting about the deer, I'm looking at channel surfing, I came across one of the public TV channels, and it's in South Africa, and the monkeys are running wild. And if you just substitute the word monkey for deer, and people love the monkeys, people hate the monkeys, people don't care for them. At least the deer don't come into your house and steal your food. But it's just funny that, not funny.
Well, they're very polite. You see a car come on the street, they stop. You're going, okay. But if those speeders got crashed, they slow down. You don't need the speed bumps, you just need deer bumps.
Solve two problems.
What's the procedure on high grass? You give them a warning? Because I ended up cutting my neighbor's grass Saturday.
But your lawn's always like better homes and gardens.
His mower was broke down.
So our procedure, what we do, actually, I think we started it in March. We identified all of the properties with zero water usage, and we're able to do that through water, so that really helps us identify the, if a house is vacant and whatnot. We send those notices out then, because we're required to, obviously, it's the friendly notice we call it, but we're required to put them on notice with that. Once that's done, our inspectors are out, they were out today, we're really after it this week. I'll say last week was early last week, because there was a lot of rain before that, so it was tough, But our procedure is we'll go out, we post the property,
What kind of time?
24 hours. And we go back after that, if it is not, they got a measuring stick, if it is not addressed after that, our staff cuts it. We used to contract that out. Clint and Sean, they've really done a good job. We got some staff very familiar with the community, and they're on it. So we go out, we cut it, they get billed. If they don't pay, $200 a cut. And listen, we take a before picture, we take an after picture. All that's filed, they get the bill. If they don't pay the bill, you see that we do go through once a year and we assess it, and it gets assessed to the property taxes. I will tell you, every year, there's at least 2 or 3. We have the conversation, it'll ultimately end up, I have it, and individuals screaming mad. And we have the before picture, the after picture. And our response is, we do not want to be in the lawn care business. We don't want to do that. It takes away from our inspectors inspecting other properties for other issues. Service could be doing other work. But we're after them. I can tell you some of the properties, like there's addresses in my head that I know. There's homes that we've billed them $1,600, $1,800. And gets assessed to their taxes, and then they're irked then, because they don't pay the bill. When the bill comes to them, they think nothing's gonna happen, but it gets assessed, and it's.
They have to do something within 24 hours.
Yeah. We go back out, and our inspector, we have to verify, right? Like, yep, they have not cut that grass, so then what they do is they work directly with, Public Works Department, notifies them. By the time we're out there, it might be 48 hours, because if our inspector gets out there, late morning, gets a message over to service, that staff member may be doing other yards, so he may not get to it until the following day.
There's
But
no leeway in that 24 hours, you got them right there.
we give them 24 hours to address it, and then we go back out. We have to do the re-inspection, because that's when we do the, you know, the photos and that. So if there's a property, send it to us, let us know. Now, if you're cutting your neighbor's grass all the time, he's probably not getting a notice because you're cutting it.
I wasn't planning on.
So-
It's a long story.
Okay, that's fine, yeah, I got it.
He's a good guy, but his mower broke down, and he's asked me to borrow mine, and I just rented a mower, because I don't want my lawn guy coming in when it's big zero-turn mower tearing up my backyards.
Yeah.
We're so wet. Anyhow, I didn't think I was gonna have time to get it back to Home Depot, but I did. I hope I saved him $200.
You did.
Thank you.
Thank you. You know, the grass issues, you know, as you were saying, you almost know certain properties, you know, from year to year. I mean, is there a more official way of tagging these homes? Saying this, I mean, if there was a website where the citizen can just type in a number, say, hey, this property, and it comes to you, that'll make it a whole lot easier. You know, there are times, and like I said, I'm not trying to put more work on the police department. If they're traveling, they can get on the phone and say, hey, listen, this property over here, such and such, they call that department and say, hey, this property is in bad shape. They might get out of the car, they can just simply say, I'm driving by here and I'm seeing it. Well, once again, I'm not trying to put more work on the police department, but I think it makes sense, because I'm looking for the police department to be in my area circulating, which comes to my next point. There's cars parked on the street overnight, and I don't see the police tagging them. I mean, they're on the street overnight. Now, I'm waiting now. Now, what I want to come back to is that, yeah, every community got a problem. Okay, I'm hearing this story over and over again. But that story does not solve the problem. What I want to say is I've been in Bedford over 30 years. When I first came in Bedford, something that really impressed me was I saw the police rolling through my neighborhood. I don't see that activity any longer. I don't see it. I'm sorry. I don't see it. You know, and I hear the police department say there's hot spots. When you tell me you got a hot spot, I would expect that hot spots to be improved where it's no longer a hot spot. But these hot spots continue to be a hot spot. I'm not saying something not being done, but I'm not being convinced. You may know the hot spots, but I'm not seeing the action taking care of these hot spots. You know there's grasses, there's almost yearly. You know what, I'm going through, and just on my journey from one place to there, I'm seeing all this grass, like I said, why is not something being done? And I'm going to dovetail on this. There's a lot of homes in Bedford that makes me want to leave, because you look at the gutters are falling off. You look at the gutters, they got a garden growing out of these gutters. I mean, you got a garden. And you know, so you're talking about someone who wants to maintain and still live in Bedford, we got to put some teeth into what keeps Bedford, Bedford. And I'm not seeing them. I'm just not seeing them. I'll leave it at that. Police.
So we do have, the reason we have to follow those rules, or the postings, if we didn't follow those, we would not have the legal authority to assess their property taxes, and we would never get paid. That's why they have to get sent the notice, that's why they have to get posted in that manner. We would love to just be able to go down the street and cut and not have to do that, but if that was the case, we would never be able to assess the property taxes. So there's a reason we have to follow that. Secondly, we do have a mechanism for people to notify. We get them for many different reasons. You can go on our website, it's right there, you can submit something. It goes directly to an individual department. If you want to submit something about a high grass, or my neighbor's got a car that's in the backyard, well, I don't want to say backyard, that one's challenging with property, but my neighbor's got a car in his front yard up on jacks, it's been like that for a week. You could type that right in there. It goes right to the individual department. You can always call, obviously, but if you want to do that, we do have a mechanism that you can do that. It goes right to the department, and it's on our website. You can go there and do that. But, you know, our number, you can call call the city manager's office, absolutely, to report something. If you don't have access to a computer or anything like that, we'll address it that way too. But there's, unfortunately, if things take a couple days to get a yard cut, it's because we want to make sure we're following the proper protocol, because we won't get,
We don't wanna do it for
we
free.
can't get assessed, yes. Some of those, I can name, there's, when I say some properties, there's one we're dealing on West Glendale. I'll name the owner, you guys can look it up if you want. Gentleman was owned 15-plus properties years ago. Kind of chalked it up, walked away. They're all associated in an LLC. We're dealing with them now. One of them, 244 West Glendale. We're there, we're cutting the grass. We've actually secured it. Yeah, it's a problem one, but it's $100 and some thousand in back taxes. The Cuyahoga County was doing nothing. That girl right there was able to get the land bank involved to really push this issue and say we want it addressed. They kind of moved something up to the top, and we're gonna have that down in 2 months. Ultimately, I think they're gonna look to build a home there. Those are those one-offs when I don't wanna say one-off, but there's properties like that in town that for some reason, if it's a probate issue, if mom passed away and deeded it to somebody in California, and there's a lien on the property, what happens is, Cuyahoga County, a couple years ago, they came out, correct me if I'm wrong, Jen, I think they had properties over, I don't know, it's like $10,000 in back taxes. There were like 40 or 50,000. So when they would get to a certain one that was, which we call complicated, they'd be like, move it down. We're gonna put these ones through the sheriff's sale. Move it down, move it down. So those are some of the challenges that when there's these ones that I talk about, we know that. And we addressed, I wish they were all addressed, right? Absolutely. But I could tell you Powers Road had a house like that. That one was 90-some thousand in back taxes. We were able to get it. The house got torn down, no charge to the city. The adjoining property owner acquired it. He's expanding his house. Center Road, right here, 100-some thousand. Individual was squatting in that house. We got them out, tore it down, land bank took it, deeded it to the city. So now we own that that grassy space. Are we gonna look to get it to a developer, new home, condo? I don't know. But there's been about, over the last couple of years, there's been just under 10 of those examples. But those are some of the things that, it's working with the county to really push these problem issues, complicated issues, if you would say. Go.
Okay.
I just want to comment that a couple times I've called, to complain about a property or my neighbor. They ask me my name and address, and then I get my neighbor on my doorstep, retaliation.
Oh,
So I don't like calling anymore.
Yeah.
And that could be, dealt with in your departments, so that maybe you would be more inclined to want to call and complain. But I sure don't want neighbors coming up to my door in retaliation.
I too have experienced that same kind of retaliation, and what I have done with asking who else, I said that's not important who I am. I'm trying to tell you there's a problem. But nonetheless, when you talk about the grass, and when you're assessing this property $200 a cut, I would hope that that might provide an incentive to say, okay, we are making some money on this, and we maybe can staff to address this a whole lot more efficiently right now, because it's making money. Although the money may not come to the end of the year. But I'm just saying that, there are just, let's talk about the car that's parked on the street overnight. And can't you just call a tow truck and tow it away?
Unfortunately, no.
Why?
Can't do that. So,
He's talking about the cars parked on the street, okay? Now, I have my driveway redone, okay? Now, I cannot pull my car in the driveway. Y'all have a system set up here Y'all have a system set up here where if I park my car on the street, I call City Hall, they said, and when they did my driveway, my car had to sit out there for 5 days. How do you know that that gas car parked on the street is not there for whatever reason, and you haven't called City Hall? I don't know that, you know.
Right, so
Police just come back, run my plate, and they would know it.
And
So it's something I can't really worry about unless they're like 10 days.
Right.
Now, you know, it don't take concrete 10 days to drive.
Right. To your point, sir, and yours also, we do give parking permissions. If someone calls in, you have a driveway done, have guests overnight, you'll have room in a driveway. It goes through a dispatch center, officers get aware of it. So you may see a car parked there for 1, 2, 3 nights in a row, not getting ticketed, but they may have permissions. So our officers are out there looking. They can't hit every street every night, but they're trying. And as far as your question about can we just tow it, we would love to sometimes, but we can't do that. So the way the ordinance reads is we have to give it a citation, and if 3 citations are unpaid, then we can tow it at that point. So it may be there for a while before we're able to tow it.
Then my next question would be, when you find these cars that are on the sidewalk, obstructing the sidewalk, and this is every day, some of them permanently, they never move. They're obstructing the sidewalk. Why is not something done with that? This is every day. I mean, if you're a police officer, you can quickly go around and say, hey, you're obstructing the sidewalk. I mean, you can get out and take the car right there. But there's some things, like I said, I think it appears it's not important to deal with at that time. Maybe they want to deal with something else at that time. But I'm saying, if I want to walk in my neighborhood and I have to keep walking off the sidewalk into the street, and this car is constantly there, it's not moved. I mean, it doesn't move. Why does not the police observe that?
And we continue to ignore small issues
Yeah, that's what I'm
lead
saying.
us to having to have the county tear down properties. So deal with the broken windows theory.
And as far as you guys' concerns about retaliation, anytime you call the police department, you can remain anonymous. That's not an issue. We never tell if there's a complaint against a neighbor or a neighborhood
That
resident.
doesn't fix that.
We don't tell them who called.
Well, let me
We try to avoid those situations.
Pardon me interrupting you. They get to the point, they want to know what race.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
yes. What
And then when
race?
you're the single woman
Oh,
next
yes.
door who's
Oh, yes.
supposed to
I just said, you get here, you'll find out what race it is. If you get here, you'll find out what's going on. Oh, yes. So what you're telling me is not being followed.
Dispatchers are trained to ask questions, to try to get as much information as they can to relay to the officers when they're approaching. So they may ask what the suspect looks like, what race they are, and all that. But if you are concerned about your identity being revealed, you can remain anonymous. They may still ask you your name and phone number and address, but if you tell them you want to remain anonymous, they'll respect that.
I want to go back to your car parked overnight, getting permission. I call you, I said, I'm gonna have to park my car. Why don't you give me a sticker that I put on there? And my other question is, how does your officer know whether I have a permit or not? You brief him on that? You tell the night shift?
Yes, when
There's gonna be a car parked on Gould Avenue overnight. Does he know that?
Yes,
Does that officer know?
Yes, when your resident calls in for
Okay,
permission,
but
it goes into a,
if you tell me I wanna park overnight, I have to come and get a sticker to put on my car.
we don't issue stickers, but if you call,
So my neighbors know that I'm legal, okay? And even if an officer comes by, he knows I'm legal. He doesn't have to check the plate.
officers know who's got permission and who doesn't, because when a dispatcher enters that information, it's relayed to the officers right away. When officers are out there checking night parking, they know which cars have
I
permission.
just called the dispatcher last week for the dog warden, didn't even know where Gould Avenue was. Okay, I called him on a Monday for next door.
The dispatch.
Oh, okay.
Okay, response. Rocket science. Enough said.
All right, it's 9 o'clock and we want to be cognizant of your time. So we're gonna do a quick wrap up. If, Tony, if you have a final word you want to say?
Don't hesitate to call me. If I can do my part, I'm gonna do my part. Like I said before, we're gonna work together, not just me and not just you, but this is our ward, this is our city. And whenever I try, I'm gonna try. But sometimes I'm gonna say, nothing can happen. And sometimes it might be a case like that, but let's hope it's not all the case.
Sandy?
Well, Tony and Jeff and Don, who's out there, and Frank, I think he left, every one of the councils can tell you, it's not that easy a job. I hear people, oh, well, you know, when I get elected, I'm gonna do this. Well, I was kind of one of those residents. When I get in there, I'll be able to stop the speed and I'll be able to stop doing this. There's so many laws and stuff that we have to go through, just like you see, Annie knows, you knows, you see me out every day. I have a notebook, I'm writing down stuff, we're turning them in. There is protocol, just like get the call down, well, there's an empty building, why doesn't a business go in there? So, well, that's, you know, again, just like I have a house that, is on things, that it has been condemned and everything else. It's sold. We can't stop someone from selling a condemned property. It gets very aggravating, it's very aggravating, so if you think that we're just sitting up here and, you know, we're not doing anything, we turn in stuff, Mike, kudos to you, cause I don't see how you do it sometimes, and it gets real aggravated when someone is cited and stuff, they go to court. Usually it's a citation, it's 30 days, they give them 30 days just out of good thing, okay, in 30 days you should be able to get that gutter fixed, or you should be able to get the garage door stuff. Well, people fall on hard times, and they can't do it, and then some people just don't care. Well then, you know what, that thing's been that way for years and years. I see it every day, it's aggravating. But believe me, it's not so simple as, we're gonna make someone do this. Every one of the council people out here can tell you, it's not an easy job, and sometimes you have to just hold the phone back here, because they're yelling at you. And a lot of times, it's not even your ward or your city, but you still listen to them. I can't tell you the amount of calls that I get that's not my ward. But, yeah, and like I said, kudos to Mike, and I know it's aggravating, because like I said, I see speed, my house has a stop sign right in front of it. I have a big picture window, Chris, Kim, they live on my street, it's a drag strip. I've seen cars go inside, and Chief Helmy, I mean, I call them a constant thing. And 9 times out of 10, by the time our guys get there, or I've called them before, and they've called them at the other end. So they are trying. And, you know, there's things when, like an ownership, I have a house right now that a son's living in, the mom and dad died. Well, we can't go in there because that son, it's in the middle of something. So we can't get this moved and that moved, and there's some things that we can't talk about on the floor. So just be patient. I know it's aggravating, believe me. I get aggravating seeing houses and, well, you're not doing your job. Well, every one of us, it's, you know, it's not a part-time job for most of us. So I just, thank you, Ward 1, for being patient, and, thank you, Mike, for what you do, because it's in the chief, it's not easy. Any report, or any comment?
Yeah, thank you all for coming, and you've written these things down, we do discuss them, and look for better ways to do stuff, and we're always open to that. You have a situation, you have a council person, you can call me, you can call Mike, we're all readily available, we don't hide. You see how many people in the grocery store when it takes me 45 minutes to get a gallon of milk. See, I'm gonna tell you, so, let us know. You have one thing that,
I just want to say, I lived here for 50 years and I loved almost every minute of it.
thank you.
And all the people that run the city too.
Thank you all for coming.